Welcome to the In Your Power podcast. This is your host, Diana Sofia. And today we're going to be talking about what happens when you get into a state of heightened stress, worry, anxiety, and your body kicks into fight or flight. Basically, what exactly happens, why it happens, and how to shift out of that state, and also why you want to shift out of that state. What are the things that are happening in the background that is good to take care of? Okay, so first things first, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I had an experience recently, actually, I think maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. I cannot remember the exact moment, but like sometime in February, where some weeks before that, I started working with this new coach, and this like working with this coach has been amazing, right? And any time that you work with any new coach, there's gonna be a lot of new things normally, that you're implementing. You're gonna be point out on this direction, that direction, things to implement, things to learn, and that's totally normal. And the other factor that played a role in that moment was that this was the highest investment that I have ever made in my business, right? So it felt like I was super excited and also so nervous inside, but I just knew when I talked to her, I absolutely need to work with this woman. This is exactly the coach that I have been praying for. Like it was like a resounding yes at a like intuitive level, and literally like I don't know, 1 week or 10 days before I started working with her, I was just saying, like I'm praying. Literally, it's like, oh, I wish I could find a coach that knows exactly this and this and that, like exactly what I needed in my business in terms of like the funnel that I'm building, the sales system that I'm building. And she had the exact expertise, So I tell you all these details also so you understand that while you may be making moves that are extremely aligned for your business, which is for me, this was a move that was really aligned with my business and my goals and where I want to go and all the things that I want to build, right? There can be discomfort in the body just making that decision. So that's the first thing that I want to like point out in this scene, right? So you notice that, and you're gonna know, like you maybe will be faced with a decision like this that in your soul that is gonna benefit your business so much, right? But there's still fear and nervousness. It's like, oh my god, it's like, is it gonna work, or like, is it gonna be like I had all these like I don't know stories of past investments that I have done, like is it gonna be a waste of time or waste of money or this and that or whatever, and I just had to like just get back into my deep core knowing and just like connect with that and know that this is the right step in this moment, and there's no way that I can f it up, like even if like quote unquote it doesn't work, like in terms of like, oh yeah, making the money back or whatever it is, however you want to say that or see that, right? So then what happens is like we start working together, and like I'm doing all these new things and whatever it is, and it's normal when you're doing new things, diving into refining skills, refining your messaging, and you're like looking at these new like frameworks, that maybe are different than what you have been used to before. It's normal that there is discomfort when you're learning or trying or testing new things. Absolutely normal. So up to there, I was like, yeah, this is totally normal. But 2 weeks in, I realized that my body was in a really heightened state of stress. I was like I have an aura ring, a wearable, and it was saying that my heart rate variability was off, right? Was like, it was kept saying, your body's fighting something, your body's fighting something. And I was like, this is so weird because I am sleeping, like I am working, but I am not overworking, like I definitely felt like stress and pressure in my body, but I was like, oh yeah, I feel like this is just, like it's just normal to have this when you're like doing new things and blah blah, right? And this is coming from someone that is like, this is what I do, I still have moments where things are happening, in my body and where it is, and it doesn't hit me, what's actually happening. So that's why I want to tell you all these details of this story, right? So anyways, I was like, oh yeah, this is normal, it's fine, whatever it is, but then coming into the third week, I realized, that I got into like what I started feeling was not stress anymore or worry or overwhelm. It was like anxiety, and I used to suffer from anxiety in my 20s since I was 11 years old until 24, where I did like cognitive therapy to overcome a bunch of like mental health issues back then, right? I suffer for a long, long time with anxiety. I have ended up in the hospital because of panic attacks, like to that extreme, right? And when you do something like cognitive therapy to overcome something like anxiety, and I also had depression, I mean, like phobias, you name it, I had so many things, OCD, and whatever. When you do something like cognitive therapy to overcome something like that, what happens is that you are using your conscious mind, right, to shift and rewire slowly how you think, thinking more rationally and what it is until you can just like not like until your thoughts stop escalating into a panic attack, right? So that's what I did. But the reality is that I never had done like before I started doing this type of work that I do now, right? I had not revisited any of those old anxiety like times in my life and reprocess all of those past experiences. So when that happens, that is like bottled trauma and bottled intense emotions and intense stress and whatever it is that is living unprocessed in your body, waiting to be triggered and kick in to just be put out there, right? Because that's what happens. It's kind of like it's a like a ticking bomb type thing, right? Until you actually process it properly, and then it no longer gets activated all the time or whatever it is. It no longer is living in your body, no longer it's like a little ticking bomb, right? So anyways, I over the years I have encountered multiple times, those parts that were old anxiety that was coming up and whatever it is, and like I have done healing around it and whatever it is, but in this specific situation, there was a few different key components in this circumstance, right? This thing that I was living, that was like there was like a big investment on my end, financial investment, right? Then there was a container in terms of like we are working for this amount of time, like 4 months, and like my body kicked into this like way of operating of like pressure of like, oh my god, this has to work, whatever it is. It's not that I was consciously thinking that way, but only when I was able to do the healing after I realized, oh my God, this is like, it was not me that was feeling like me, Diana from the present, experiencing all these things, that was feeling all this pressure, stress, whatever it is. It's like this old anxious part got activated, right? Because I had not done healing on it. And it basically, when I realized that there was an old part getting activated, because it didn't hit me until after like 2 weeks and a half. Anyways, so when I realized that, I was like, it like gave me so much peace immediately. And that's why I wanted to make this episode, because anyways, I feel like a lot of people, and actually after that, I found out that like two of my older clients were like, or past clients were experiencing similar things, and when we are in that type of situation, we start thinking that, what is wrong with us and whatever it is, so I wanted to make this episode so that if something like this is happening in your life, in your business, you understand what's going on. So anyways, it hit me that, oh shit, I have not suffered from anxiety in forever, so when I am anxious and it's like it stays and it doesn't go away, that to me is a clear indicator, that there is a part that has been activated. And let me tell you, I was doing tapping, I was doing like several of my processes, right? But I didn't realize that the thing that was getting activated was like an old thing, so I didn't do my process to get to the root of the issue, and by the time I noticed it, I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this on my own, I'm just gonna get a session, so I have my go-to person that does like basically the same work that I do, and she's awesome. And anyways, well, I'm just gonna give a little shout out to Erica here, and she basically guided me, through this like parts work experience, which is one of the things that I do both in my group program and my one-on-one, right? And we found out, we got to the root of the issue, and the root of the issue was that this old part that, like old younger version of me from university had get activated right again. And I was feeling all this anxiety in my body because of that, because I was feeling the pressure to perform. And this part was like literally just thinking, like when I activate you this way, what I'm trying to do is for you to not fuck it up, for you to just like, I want to push yourself and push you and like just make sure that you actually perform so you don't disappoint people. So you're not sad. So this, so that. So it was just doing all these things to prevent me from failing, to prevent me from messing it up, making mistakes, and basically disappointing people and not being loved by my parents, And like what happened is that crazy enough, it's like usually the subconscious mind, where whenever something of the past gets activated, usually what is happening is that there's gonna be a connecting thread, right? And that connecting thread with something from the past can be a belief, that all of a sudden gets activated. It says you're really feeling it. It can be a set of circumstances, right? It's almost like the perfect storm type thing, which is a little of what happened in this moment, right? Or it can be a certain emotion. So sometimes the emotion that you're feeling in this moment is an emotion that you felt really intensely back in the past because of whatever reason, and then that's it. So in my case, it was that like an emotional component, the anxiety was like channeling that old version of me's anxiety. And then on top of that, there was the perfect storm, right? Because it was this big investment, just like back then when I was in university. The reason I had so much anxiety and panic attacks and all these different things was because I, in that moment, right, my parents were making an insane effort, and actually the whole family was making an insane effort to send me to the best business school in Peru. So I felt a lot of pressure to perform, right? And when I started working with this coach, right, my subconscious mind perceived all these elements. Oh, big investment. Oh, like we need to make it work. It's like we cannot fuck this up type thing, like it got all these elements from that past experience, and it started sending, right, my subconscious mind, my body started getting activated in the exact same way that was activated back then. So, anyways, we go to the root of the issue and all the parts involved and why they were like feeling that way, and whatever we did the healing that, like, yeah, subconscious healing. Some people call it like inner child work. Sometimes we're not necessarily working with inner child parts, because this was like me at 20, like 20 maybe, or 21, or like 19 or something like that. But it's just younger parts that have gone through rough times of some sort, like heightened stress, heightened worry, something that, maybe is slightly traumatic, right? So because I had like in that back in that time, I ended up, as I was saying, in the hospital because of panic attacks, right? That was a traumatizing experience, knowing I had no idea that I was having a panic attack, and all of a sudden my heart was pounding out of my chest, and I couldn't breathe, so it was traumatic, right? I ended up in the hospital with my dad. Like, it was the first time that I had like a panic attack like that, and whatever, so anyways, obviously there was unprocessed trauma and emotions from that time that needed to be addressed in, like in this present moment, right? But it didn't come up until now, right? I have not worked with this specific situation part in the past. It has not come up before, right? But because of this situation and this quote unquote perfect storm, it ended up happening now. I have this belief that whatever like comes up, right, as a trigger, something that stays, that it's like, it's almost like you are doing all these different things and you cannot shake it off, right? Is coming at the perfect moment when you're ready to be healed. It's telling you, it's screaming at you like, look at me, I need attention, please just like do something about this, right? I consider myself extremely blessed that I understand when those things happen, right? I understand what's happening in my body. And the reason I wanted to make this episode is because I wanted to really let people into the intricacies and like the tiny little details and the nuances of what happens when your body gets activated by something from the past, right? And almost every time that you are feeling something in this present moment that is like heightened, it's like you see a mismatch of the circumstance that is in front of you and the emotions and the inner state of your body, right? When it feels like your body and your mind are highly overreacting to what is in front of you, the circumstance and the situation that is in front of you, right? Normally, it's because there are things from the past that are being activated. So, why is this relevant to you? Because business and putting yourself out there and yeah, like just promoting yourself and selling and launching and all of these different things, and also money. I mean, everything in business is extremely triggering. Not for everyone, but for people who have had maybe more anxiety, but have suffered from more anxiety in the past, people that are type A, that are control freaks, like I used to be like such a perfectionist, and everything has to be fine and whatever it is. And it was because of my upbringing, that I evolved into this person, right? So, anyways, for people that have experienced a lot of pressure, stress growing up, like this desire to perform well so that your parents are happy or proud of you or whatever it is, and maybe you have had like moments of stress and whatever it is at home, or whatever situation that has caused a lot of stress in your life in the past, is gonna make you more prone to experiencing more of these episodes of like heightened emotions and your business triggering you. Same as if you have experienced in your household or at school any situation where you like ended up making the assumption, that you were not good enough, that you were not lovable, that you were weird or different than other people, that you were not going to be as cool or like amazing or smart or whatever as other people, that you're different. Any of those conclusions about yourself that you may have done in the past are going to get triggered around business, money, success, and all of these different things that are business related, and growing your business and marketing and selling and putting yourself out there. It's just unavoidable. Why? Because, like it's just within us. It's just waiting to get activated so that we can see it and we can heal it, right? So I consider again myself very blessed to have this knowledge, because before I would just go through all these things and I was like, what is happening? And I would just use all my cognitive therapy like tools, so to calm myself down, and like also meditation tools and like observation tools, a bunch of things that I learned before I learned this, right? But now I understand this, and even having all that knowledge, all that understanding, sometimes when things are so activated in my body, and sometimes at times lose the ability to observe myself from like a third party perspective and realize that, oh shoot, something from the past is getting activated. At some point it just hits me and I'm like, oh, okay, perfect, and let me just like go get into my program Rewire and Regulated to 5x, do some of the recordings and like clear that out. Or in certain situations I'm like, let's just go and get a session, and get someone to like help me move through this like faster or whatever, like let's just get to the bottom of it, depending on what it is. Sometimes I will try some things on my own, and if I feel like I'm not really nailing the thing, I prefer to be guided, right? So anyways, I consider myself really blessed for knowing that, and that's why also I want everybody to understand what is happening at the mind and body level when this happens, right? So anyways, now you understand. I'm gonna like recap it. Whenever something in your environment in business, triggers you into like a really heightened state of like, you just feel very emotional. And sometimes even I just said that there's a mismatch, right? Sometimes there's not necessarily a mismatch, but simply, like even, I mean, the thing that is in front of you is still very triggering. And so you are really effing triggered. Even in those moments where there is a match in the circumstances, you have the opportunity, the possibility of working on this root, like I guess, root cause approach to healing at a deep subconscious and nervous system levels, and processing those unprocessed emotions and situations that happened in the past, and then opening up massive amounts of higher performance, focus, creativity, intuition, basically getting back into your normal state of being. What happened after that session is that literally my resting heart rate went back to normal. My freaking HRV, heart rate variability went back to normal. And I was just mind freaking blown. And then after that, I had the exact same workload, you could say, but I felt so good. I cannot even tell you. It was like so amazing, so night and day, you know? And I tell you all these things because I find that so many people, even when they know that these type of tools and these type of experiences or this type of like shifting, healing tools like exist, they will sit down on that suffering, right? Without doing anything about it. So I wanted to create this episode, tell you all the details, and tell you what needs to happen when these type of triggers get kicked in. So first, let's just go back to what happens in the body. You know, you're basically what has been activated is fight or flight. If it's super heightened, you know, almost any heightened emotion is gonna kick a certain state of fight or flight. When that happens, is basically your survival mechanism gets activated. And then that means that anything else that is not important, like related to your survival, so eating, I don't know, having sex, well, procreating, I don't know, creativity, all those other things, you know, like just go out of the window immediately. You know, problem solving abilities, your ability to focus, like all of that just goes out of the window. Rational thinking, right? And your body is in a state where like it just wants to survive. That's it, you know. So it's gonna make you not want to eat. Probably sleep is also gonna be like impacted, and yeah, you're just gonna be like in a tense state, right? And then if you have a wearable, it's probably gonna start telling you all these things like, yes, your heart rate variability is not good, or like it's off. Something is off. Your body's like fighting something, right? And your resting heart rate is probably gonna be impacted as well, no matter what you do and how long you like sleep and all these different things. And so, anyways, that will happen now. The other thing that happens when you are in a what I would call a triggered state, an activated state, like a body activation state. Some other people call it like fight or flight. You can also call it a dysregulated state, right? No, you're not regulated in your nervous system, it's dysregulated. So, anyways, however you want to call it is fine. When you're in that state, the other thing that is going to happen is that because you're in that such state, your bandwidth to do your normal work is going to go out of the window as well. You know, so it's going to be harder to focus, it's going to be harder to prioritize things, you're going to get into overwhelm way easier. Like the things that normally you could handle, you know, like nothing, are going to feel overwhelming and like so much like, oh my god, I just feel like I cannot handle life right now, right? It can get to that, like if it's a really heightened state of fight or flight, it can get to that point. And then you can get to, yeah, you can get to a point where your mind is, so like what happens is that when you get in this state, your mind can start sending you these empowering thoughts, you know. So when you're facing business and you feel like, oh my god, it's like everything feels like too much, I'm too overwhelmed, I cannot handle things, your mind may start making meaning out of that and will start showing you some thoughts like, maybe I'm not cut out for this, oh my god, I am feeling like this and at this level of like of success in business, it's like there's no way I can handle even more, right? Like maybe I'm just like not good enough, you know. Like there's a bunch of different things that can happen. The other thing that can happen is that, imagine that you have been doing this work of rewiring your beliefs and also fears, right, around showing up, visibility, and selling and marketing and all these different things. The other thing that can happen is that things that used to make you get into a trigger state, like for example, showing up, speaking in public, marketing, and putting yourself out there, when you are in this heightened state of fight or flight, stress, anxiety, right? What can happen is that your mind may tell you, oh my God, I feel like I cannot even handle that thing. And I have done healing around it. It's like, why am I not able? Like, is this like, have I like gone backwards? It's like the healing that I didn't do before didn't work. Like, what's going on, right? And simply what is going on is that when you're in that state, you're just out of bandwidth. That's it, you know. So the moment that you get back to regulation, and that's why I tell my clients and everyone around me and all the freaking coaches and entrepreneurs that I talk to on a regular basis, right? I tell them, it's like, if you're in a heightened state of anxiety, stress, worry, fear, any type of emotions at a high state, in any type of fight or flight, you have to regulate your body first, period. And some people tell me, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym or I'm gonna go dancing. that's great. It's gonna move energy, but it's not gonna regulate things at a deep level. And I'm just gonna be honest about that. What you need to do is something like EFT tapping, like, tapping. Some people, I just realized that they don't know what tapping is. It's like just basically tapping on acupuncture points. It's a science-backed methodology, like some basically a stress relief methodology, but also it's called emotional freedom technique. Like EFT stands for emotional freedom technique. And what it does is basically regulating and freeing yourself from heaviness of emotions. And like you can also do inner child work with it. I mean, it's an incredible tool. I use it a lot, right? So obviously that is a tool that is going to regulate your body in that moment. But then there's other techniques from EFT tapping and also from inner child healing, from like, I mean, multiple methodologies do this, like parts work and hypnosis. When you know how to do like work with parts in hypnosis, you can do that inner child work or inner teenage like work, or just releasing trauma from the past. I mean, all of that thing. So anyways, you have to regulate your nervous system, your body in this moment. That can happen with like EFT tapping, as I was saying. It's one great way to do it. Another great way to do it is breath work. I personally don't use breath work, but I know some people like really, really love it. Now, the thing that needs to happen for those emotions to actually be released from the body so they stop being this ticking bomb that makes you triggered and stressed constantly is that you need to get to the root of the issue. Like I was just telling my little story of how this situation like triggered this old essence of Diana, this younger version of me, right? You have to get to the root of why you're feeling like you're feeling, why your body's having this reaction in this moment, and do that healing in that past experience so that your body in this moment and your mind in this moment no longer need to trigger that state. It stops getting triggered because that event of the past is processed and you close the tab, you close the chapter. Any traumatic, it's like big T trauma or small a small T trauma, because sometimes there's like mini traumas, right? Like, I don't know, like the teacher put you to read something in front of everyone and everybody laughed, and you were like 6 years old and you just thought that everybody just didn't like you because they laughed at you, right? So that would be like a small trauma that for that version of you was really traumatizing anyways, but that would be something that you would have to find. That would be one of those root events, right? Root cause things. So anyways, find that root, do the healing, and then the mind and the body no longer feel the need to send you that same response and reaction anymore. The loop is closed, the tab is closed. All those past experiences that I was saying, it's almost like it's like if you are the computer, imagine those are tabs open in the background. Like when you're working on your computer in this tab, but you have 100 tabs open in like all these other like windows, what happens is that they make your computer very slow and inefficient, right? So in the exact same way, the more of those past experiences, past tabs you have open, the more your system is using and leaking energy to keep all those things open in the background, running in the background, right? A lot of times outside of our conscious awareness, but they are still leaking your energy. They're still leaking your power, right? So the reason you want to do this healing work when heightened emotions come up is because when you do, you close those tabs, you process those emotions, and you free your body from these emotional burdens. Your health improves, your ability to focus, your ability to just tap into your peace, into your joy, and more empowering perspectives and beliefs, like everything improves. So that's why when something gets triggered, I no longer get upset because I'm like, fuck yeah. On the other side of me, getting over this trigger, kind of like healing this trigger, I'm going to have way more freedom, way more lightness, joy, focus, intuition, creativity, flow, peace, and way more bandwidth to do the things that I want to do in the world. And as entrepreneurs that are here to impact the world, we want to have as much of our power and our capabilities and our higher faculties so that we can use those to accomplish what we want, and also to be present with our families, to be able to enjoy life. So anyways, and also I'll say, when you have had a lot of those experiences in the past and you don't process them, your body eventually can deteriorate as well. Your health deteriorates, right? So you want to do that healing work, especially if you, like me, I have had a lot of, like, I had like 13 years of unprocessed traumatic experiences and a lot of mental health issues that I never did processing on, right? So, like, clearly I understand, what I'm working, the backpack, the past backpack that I'm working with, and also I understand that that's why, a lot of the work that I have done in order to get to this state of showing up in my business has taken me a lot more time to get here than other people, because I had a lot of healing to do on deep fears and deep stories and deep patterns, right? So, anyways, if you have had that in the past, just know that it's normal that your business is going to be triggering a lot of things. And the thing that you have to just promise to yourself is that you will find someone. And here I am as well, but you can just find anyone, me or anyone of your choice, to work through these and process these old experiences, old beliefs, and like get them out of your way, because on the other side of that, you're gonna find so much freedom, power, joy, creativity, intuition, alignment. Like, a massive emotional bandwidth to actually handle life, because what happened after I cleared that, as I was saying, right? It's like my circumstances didn't change. Right? It's not that the workload decreased or anything like that. It's like everything stayed the same, but I felt so good and so at peace and so capable, like big time, right? So that's huge. And then here's a funny thing. I don't know why. Maybe there was something in the environment. Maybe that it was a tail end of the year of the snake and the last shedding, or whatever you want to call it. But the funny thing is that 2 weeks after I had this like session and I had my own breakthrough experience, one of my clients is like, "Oh my god, I'm feeling so much overwhelmed. Like I'm just like not feeling well. I have all these different things that are going on in business and life and whatever it is, and I'm just so triggered, And I was like, yeah, let's do a session. Like, I mean, yeah, for sure, And I was in my head like, oh my god, I feel like literally it's almost like you could be saying the same thing that I just said 2 weeks ago when I was feeling all these things, right? So we did the session, got to the root of things, I cleared the stuff, and the shift was so dramatic, like so dramatic, that her freaking whoop as well was showing, that her heart rate variability went back to normal, because her body had kicked into this like old stuff, right? Old like version of her old like younger self stuff that got activated. This like younger part got activated into her body, right? And she was doing also like healing work on it and whatever it is, because she also like does this type of work, energetic work and whatever, But she was like, okay, you know what? Like I need someone to help me like find what is going on here, And long and behold, we went back, just like I was saying, we always get to the root of the thing so that we can close that tab, so then your body and your mind do not feel the need to send you again, to get triggered again in that way. Now, you may get triggered in similar ways, but it's going to be for different things and what it is. And that just shows that there's like different facets of the same issue, right? That need to be like cleared, So, for example, it's like, as I was saying, I experienced 13 years of anxiety, depression, OCD, phobias, all that stuff, right? Clearly, I'm not gonna reprogram, or heal 13 years of experience with all the different nuances of like emotions, and in just one session, everything is gone, right? It has been a process and different things have gotten activated over the years, but that I can think of, maybe this has been the fourth session where anxiety has been like something like in that like those years of anxiety and depression and all the stuff that got activated, like in so from all the stuff, it has been like my fourth session that I do on that topic, right, from 13 years, right? And I'm just feeling amazing or wise, so just so you get an idea of the power of this work. And then the final thing that I wanted to say, this is a helpful way that I like seeing this issue, you know, when anything gets triggered. It's almost like you, and this comes from a perspective of parts work. I just love parts work. And anyways, from the perspective of parts work, We are just living our lives and we have access to what they call self energy, which is basically this higher self centered, grounded space, where you are just like centered, grounded, calm, creative, curious. There's all these different characteristics of the self energy or higher self. And then what happens is that we are constantly exposed to different things in our environment, right? People, places, circumstances, perfect storm of circumstances, like I was explaining on mine. And then your mind, that is an associate, your brain is an association machine. So then, depending on what you were exposed, in your business life, whatever it is, if something looks or feels similar to something that happened in the past, that part is going to get activated. It's almost like that thing that your senses, your mind and body are experiencing and sensing in your environment is going to like give a little tap to that old part, old story, whatever it is, and they're going to say like, hey, this thing that is happening right now looks so similar, feels so similar. It's like this over time, like wake up, we have to do something about this type thing, right? Because the last time that this happened, it was horrible and whatever it is. Just imagine if you have not seen Inside Out 2 and Inside Out 1, but I would say Inside Out 2 just really, really like it's just such a clear way to understand what's happening. So imagine, like you get activated whatever it is and like this like they tap this old part gets activated, comes to the rescue, and it's like, oh my god, we have to do something about it. So then that part comes with all the thoughts, emotions, and whatever it is that you are feeling in the moment. So something that is helpful for me to remember in those moments is that, oh shit, this is not me. This is not me, Diana, from this moment with all the wisdom that I have and all these different things. This is a part from the past that has gotten activated in my body. And it's seeking to be witnessed, to be held, to be seen, to be accepted, to be listened to, right? So I need to pay attention to that and like actually do something about it. Now, there are many ways to explain this, understand when you get activated and whatever it is. I have studied so many different things and like I've heard so many different explanations. But the reason I love this explanation is because it gets me back into connecting with my self energy. And it almost gives me this way of like stepping back and observing that there is this thing from the past, this old thing that has gotten activated, and that the only thing I need to do is to just see it, witness it, heal it, and do the work, that I do. And that's it. And everything's gonna be fine. And feeling this way does not mean that there's something wrong with me, that I'm not capable, that like whatever my mind is saying in that moment, it's like that, oh my God, it's like if I cannot, like if I am feeling like this at this level, what's gonna happen later? How am I gonna handle bigger things? Like all of that is just mind chatter that again is just matching with how you're feeling, right? The only reason those thoughts, these empowering thoughts are there is because they're getting activated by the state of your body. So you get into a state of regulation again by healing the deep root of the thing that you're feeling, the part that is like wanting to be healed, right? And then after that, you will know what of those thoughts and things that your mind was thinking may actually be beliefs that you also have to heal, right? And work through. But a lot of times, they are just recycled thoughts, negative thoughts that you don't even need to like pay attention to anymore. Like it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. So, anyways, it's just they were just there because of the how you were feeling, and that's it. So, anyways, I just hope I made justice to this story and to like and just really explain what's going on so that when you are in this type of a state, you just know what's going on and also how like what is required, and then granted you can obviously help yourself with whatever you can, like the dancing, the movement and all the stuff is going to help, but just know that when you are in a really heightened state and you have had moments in the past that have been mini traumas or big traumas, like there is healing and processing to do. And the best thing you can do for your well-being and for also for your bandwidth so that you can put that back into your business, into your family, into your presence in your life and enjoying life, right, is to process all of that the right way. And obviously I am honored always when I can just be a part of somebody's healing, so here I am, just me Like if you feel called to just do this work with me, I do that in my one-on-one setting and also in my group setting. And reach out if you are ever experiencing anything like this, right? And that's it. And if not, just find someone that can help you in these ways, that understands how to get to the root of issues and close those tabs so that you can feel better permanently, not just like up and down roller coaster of emotions all the time, right? And that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, bye.